What should your first lens be? So I've got two lenses. Today I was using the Lumix S5 with the Tamron 35mm f1.4 and the Canon 50mm f1.2. The Tamron is very contemporary, so it's more clinical, it's more sharp. So here is this fair few pictures of me and my fiance just going shopping, just so you can see what the 35mm is like in the real world. While the Tamron is more clinically sharp, the Canon is more blurry, so it's very soft. So you can see pictures of the Canon 50mm f1.2 EF version here, and the location that we use to shoot these photos and videos for this shoot. So 35mm is an environmental portrait lens, and what this is basically when you're in a scene, you can shoot whatever you want and you can see enough of the background to paint a story, to show where you are. Whereas the 50mm is more of a portrait lens, so it's a bit more zoomed in and you still know where you are, but this is not as much. If you look at the background of the 35mm, you'll see more of the picture in the background, whereas with the 50mm it's a bit more zoomed in. If you've seen my past videos, you probably know if it's a 35mm versus 50mm, I much prefer the 50mm because the 35mm has a bit more distortion, especially around the edges of the frame. And what you're looking at is that when you're looking at the Tamron 35mm, if you look at the outer sections of the photo or the video, you'll see it's a bit more spread out, like it kind of distorts outwards. And why I don't like that is because, especially when you're shooting portraits or I guess environments, there's a bit more distortion there that kind of like widens everything. And if you're shooting, I guess, girls, guys, you don't really want to widen them up because you're making them a bit fatter. So you don't really want to widen their faces or widen their body. Whereas with the 50mm, it's a bit more zoomed in, so you get more of that natural look. But if you really want, I guess, perfect distortion and you really want to shoot them the way they look, that's where you're looking at more telephoto, I guess, lenses, which is like 85mm if not 100. So 100mm is the, I guess, golden standard if you want them to look the way they actually look like. So here's a shoot of a young couple using the 100mm f2 mirrorless, and you can see that it's, yeah, their faces and less distortion. The only caveat is that you have to be very far away. So when you look at these images, you'll see that the 35mm is a bit more distorted, and I don't really like that. So whenever I'm shooting, I like using the 50mm focal length. One way to, I guess, combat this, and you'll see this a lot with a lot of, I guess, photographers on YouTube, is that whenever they're using wide lenses like the 35mm, 24mm, 20 or 18mm, the subject, the model, is always on the center of the frame, like on the middle. And if they're more so on the right side or the left side of the frame, you'll really see them distort. Like right now I'm using a 24mm Sigma Art lens on the Lumix S5, and if I put my face here, you'll see that, it's somewhat distorting, and I put it here, and if I'm dead center, it's okay. But whenever you see my hands, they're really big on the edges, but if it's in the center, it's more normal. Big, small, big, small. And you really have to, I guess, pay attention to that distortion when you're shooting wider angle lenses. With all these YouTubers with their 35mm and 24mm, all of them, most of the photos, you'll notice this, are always center, because if they're on the edge, they're very, very distorted, as you can see. So if you ask me, I'm a 50mm type of guy. Other people are 35, because if you're shooting on a 50mm, you just have much less distortion. It's more real life, there's more bokeh, and it's just beautiful. Talking about the video, I was using the Lumix S5 in the full frame mode, 4K, 25 frames a second, and 10-bit 422. And what you see is that with the Tamron lens, you really see this clinical sharpness. Like you can tell it's sharp, sharp, sharp. Whereas with the Canon lens, what you see is that it's little more softer. Something to note is that with the Lumix S5, you can use Canon lenses, Sigma lenses, Tamron lenses on using the MC-21 adapter, Canon to L mount. However, it only works with single focus mode. So like whether it's photo or video mode, you can focus it using a single focus and then it'll focus, but it won't, I guess, do that continuous autofocus, which is what Canon and Sony cameras are really good at. You can only do continuous autofocus in photo and video mode if you use a native L-mount lens. So like any of the Lumix lenses, that's L-mount, any of the Sigma lenses that are L-mount, whenever you adapt, you can only use single focus. So looking at these, the Tamron's on the left and the Canon on the right, and it was relatively alright to focus on photo and video mode. Something to note is that the Canon was faster, but the Tamron 35 has been dropped. So it might be because of that. Which is why in this particular video, when I was using the Canon 50mm f1.2, I completely misfocused. I'm not sure if it was focusing on the plants, on the ground, on the cement, but it front focused, and that's just something that you have to deal with when you're using the Lumix S5, S1, S1H, and yeah, you can't continuous autofocus, which is still good. So like when you're shooting a wedding, when you're shooting portraits, you still have the option of single focus and then manually overriding that if they're walking back, walking, I guess, forward, you have the option to manual focus. So what do you guys think? Do you guys like the 35mm or the 50mm focal length? Or do you like the new clinical sharpness that all the lens designs are going for? Or do you like your more classical vintage type of lens? Tamron versus Canon, contemporary versus old, there's no right or wrong. They're both beautiful, 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 beautiful. Anyway, that's it for this video. Hope you enjoyed the photos and videos. We'll see you next time.